The speaker needs no introduction for those in the world of mining reconciliation, but I'm going to give her one anyway. Rayleen has been shaping the way we think about reconciliation and metal ore tracking, I think, technically, for years. As the product owner of Reconcilor, she's been the forefront of software development that revolutionized how we track and standardize reconciliation across the mine value chain. She's a strong voice in the industry, cultivating greater awareness for transparency, benchmarking, and standardization, things we all know mining could use more of. Her leadership has not only saved companies serious time and money, but also earned her well-deserved recognition, including being named a Women in Technology role model and a nominee for the Women in Digital Awards. Today, Rayleen's here to share her insights on the JORC Code, and for those who want to get to know hands-on, she'll be running a workshop tomorrow where she'll put Reconcilor through its paces. So let's give a big welcome to Rayleen.
So last night I was doing a run through and went, this is really boring. I'm going to go into a live demo of Reconcilor. So I've sort of flipped it for myself. Don't want to stay in the safe lane too long. So look, I'll give it a go. I don't know what the Wi-Fi is going to be like here. It is sitting on a HTML web page, so we can access it. I'll start off and I'll give you some introduction to the JORC code and what we're looking at. So let's get started. So the topic is, I will start my stopwatch, reconciliation in the JORC code, how Reconcilor is leading the way today and tomorrow. And I do apologise for my LinkedIn posts. There are a lot of them. But look, it's been an exciting 8-9 months for me in the fact that the JORC code has actually included reconciliation into its future version. So what we'll cover today, like I said, we've got about 30 minutes. I'll explore how Reconcilor can simplify the JORC reconciliation reporting requirements and help your operations stay ahead of the compliance. We'll cover why reconciliation reporting is critical for the proposed JORC updates and how Reconcilor addresses these needs. And like I say, we'll go into a live demo of Reconcilor and I'll touch on a few of the modules and just show you its capabilities there. So first off, what is JORC? I'm sure there's a handful of people in the room that have no idea what JORC is. It stands for the Joint Ore Reserves Committee, and the JORC Code is a set of guidelines for reporting mineral resources and ore reserves in Australia. The JORC Code is a professional code of practice that helps investors make informed decisions about a company's resources. Okay, so it's about being transparent in what you're actually mining and what you're promising to mine, I guess. So we look at those exploration results on the right there and we see inferred, indicated, measured, and then of course when we go to a reserve we've got a probable and proven. And I will show you in Reconcilor we do track those different classifications against the models as well. Another little picture that I saw that I really liked was this Venn diagram around transparency, materiality and competency. And really that all comes together in these JORC compliant reports. Okay, so again, you're going to hear me say those words quite a fair few times over the next half hour, but transparency, competency and materiality. Materiality, you've got to give as much information as you can to support what you're reporting. Okay, so that's what that's all about. So what is in the JORC code coming up? And so this, it got released in, I think it was July or August last year, and it's a draft version and it was open for comment and we had 3 months to comment back, and as part of Snowden Optiro we absolutely made comments back to JORC to let them know what we were happy with and what we weren't happy with. But what I've done is I've taken some of the key extracts from the draft JORC code, and I'd like to take a moment to highlight a few of the proposed requirements. So I won't read it all out, but just highlighted some that I think are important. If we look at this first line here, I'll start on the summary of the proposed changes, where there'll be a new clause requiring the disclosure of an estimate to a prior estimate, or alternatively, the reconciliation of the mined part of an estimate to the mine production results. So the mined part of an estimate is your depleted volume from your resource model or your reserve model. Very important to be tracking that against your mined movements, and also against each other. So get model to model. Yeah, you want to be able to compare those as well. Why? Because the ASX listing rules have requirements for these comparisons. Okay, so we're not just saying you should do it. It's a nice thing to do. You have to do it. You have to be able to report that to ASX in their requirements. So you heard Craig talk about reconciliation. So this morning we've heard Simon, Tronox, there were a few people there mentioning reconciliation. There are two definitions of reconciliation out there. The one that we've heard this morning, prior to Craig, was all around metal accounting and metal reconciliation. So what goes into the plant and what comes out of the plant has to equal. Yeah, so it's a metal accounting, a metal reconciliation, and commonly referred to as reconciliation. So when Reconciler joined the Datamine team, they were like, that's not reconciliation, what you're doing, that's just comparisons. But the definition, even by JORC, of mine reconciliation is the comparison of an estimate to a prior estimate, such as a mineral resource and ore reserve, or the comparison of the mined part of an estimate to the mine production results. So exactly what Craig was talking about before, that mine value chain and comparing across the mine value chain to see how well each of those data sets is actually performing spatially and also over time. So there are many variables in the geological models, and having any of those variables reconciled graphically can help understanding, and that's what we'll have a look at today. Another one is that reconciliation between material modifying factors and actual mine production and mineral processing outcomes must be included in the public report. So again, all about this transparency now. The results should be presented in a simple format, of course, that also shows what the competent person deems to be acceptable tolerance limits of variation. In Reconciler, we call them control limits. So if you think about just your normal charts that you would do, your control limits, your tolerance limits, but actually have an explanation as to why you've set those tolerance limits. Okay, so reconciliation reporting isn't just about numbers though. It's about telling the story of your mine's performance, and that sort of leans on from what Craig was talking about as well, was the value, looking for value, telling the story, what's actually happening on the site. The JORC Code emphasises documenting reconciliation in Table 1 and explaining material changes, variances and confidence levels, and Reconciler will provide the tools to make this process clear, transparent and reliable. I won't go through all of these points, but Reconciler is designed to give you complete confidence in your mine reconciliation process by streaming workflows, improving accuracy and ensuring reliable results. It provides confidence, and our tagline is mine with confidence. It does provide confidence in your model estimates while embedding mine plan compliance and trend analysis to identify opportunities for optimising production. With a focus on accuracy, Reconciler is helping manage stock levels, grades and metal availability, supporting better blending decisions and supply chain efficiencies. So not to the degree that Mine Market does the blending. We tend to look at blending as what's available on a stockpile, but not actually to the nth degree that Mine Market does, because we are focused on reconciliation, mine reconciliation. We happen to pick up the material tracking because we need that to make the comparisons against the mine reconciliation. So we do dabble in that, and there's definitely some sites that use Reconciler for their material tracking, but it's a byproduct, I guess, of getting to the end game, which is your reconciled results. And I would just like to point out that we do have a reconciliation partnership program, because I've come from Snowden Optiro. All the guys there are on board with what Reconciler can do. And we provide, Snowden Optiro provides advisory and training, just so that you're always supported along every step of the way. So we're not just about technology; we're about domain experience and helping your teams actually improve your reconciliation. Last slide before I go into the demo, and we cross our fingers. Reconciler does deliver a range of benefits that help mining operations improve accuracy, efficiency and transparency. And again, transparency, right? That's what we're all about. I did a paper a few years ago, and it was all around transparency and the lack of transparency when you go into public reporting. There's just nothing. It's very, very hard to get results and to make, I guess, meaningful decisions based on those results that you provided. So Improved accuracy, increased efficiency by automating the data capture and analysis. And Reconciler also supports better risk management by identifying and mitigating risks associated with mining operations such as ore loss and dilution. It enhances stakeholder communication, a little bit like what Craig was saying about those meetings, that four-horse meeting. A communication meeting that you can talk around the results is extremely important, whether that be daily, monthly, quarterly, whatever it might be that you're reporting on. Some of our clients definitely have the quarterly meetings, the reconciliation meetings, and they review how everything is going, and they put actions down, and then they are measuring how those actions are making a difference in the business. And again, it's that loop back to be able to say it's worth doing our reconciliation because this is the value that can be obtained from that. Okay, so now I'm going to get out of here, and we cross our fingers. So just bear with me while I change some screens around. Actually, so I've got to make sure. Okay. Almost there. Don't ask me how I'm going to get back to the presentation. Is it? Okay. All right, so we're all good. So just some quick navigation, just so that you know where I'm at. So we're into Reconciler now. The latest version is 9.9. It came out a couple of weeks ago. So anybody in the room that's got Reconciler and they're not on 9.9, you will be soon. Okay, so we do try and keep everybody up to date as much as we can, just because there's new features coming out all of the time. Very simple menu structure. So this is not designed for geologists, it's not designed for mining engineers, it's designed for anybody that can use the internet that can navigate around Reconciler, okay? So you don't have to be a specialist in it to find what you need. Very simple menu structure. I'm going to just focus on a few of these screens in the data analysis modules today. And what are we looking at? We've got a copper gold demo here. I'm looking at 1 month in particular. And I've got the mine value chain pulled up. So what we do in the implementation is we configure the mine value chain to suit you. I don't have any mine plans in this mine value chain, but can absolutely have those included as well. We've got resource model, reserve model, grade control model, We do go all the way through to shipping as well, but this is my copper gold data set, so I've only gone through to plant product. What you're looking at is a suite of attributes, and I've only chosen to put on gold and copper, but Reconciler will pick up anything that you've got in your models, okay? So think of this as your model reconciliation tool. So it's no point mining anything if you're not actually, you're going to be invested on based on your resource models, yeah? Your resource models and your budget plan. If you can't give confidence that you know what you're doing when you're mining those, then really it's a question of what are you doing. So anything that's in the model, we suggest bringing that in, and you've got the ability then to track that all the way through the through the material movement flow. Whether they're things like dollars, hardness, domains, whatever it might be, we can bring it in. If it's a number, it's all good. Sorry, I've loaded this before. I'll keep talking while it refreshes. Okay. Just load that. This is live demo. Love it, yeah. All those that are product owners are going, why are you doing this? So basically what I want to show you now is we've got those attributes, the copper and the gold. What I want to show you is the comparisons that we are going to look at. And we'll just wait for it to load up. And I've pulled up, I think, some comparisons against the resource model. Okay, so you can see these comparisons against the resource model. I could load up any type of comparison, and this is my demo data set. So I've got quite a few, and like our consultants around the world access this one as well. So we've loaded up a lot. I've just pulled up 3 that we can look at, and anywhere that I click on the table, you'll see that the comparison ribbons update. So at the moment I'm looking at gold ounces. If I go to copper tonnes, I can see the differences between the different nodes on that mine value chain. So these are the comparisons that Craig was showing you on that arc diagram. I guess that comparison arc diagram where you saw the resource model to the reserve model to the mine production and to the plant product. So they're all available. So this is off the shelf. You don't have to do anything here. You guys can configure this yourselves. Like I said, we've had a lot of consultants actually configuring these screens. Just a pretty straight waterfall chart below just to highlight any issues or any discrepancies between the different nodes. And of course, there's going to be some around this mine production because we've got stockpiling. Yeah, we've got stockpiling and we've got stockpile feed. So we expect some differences around there. If you're doing all direct feed, then yeah, you don't expect any red, I guess. You want everything to be going to the crusher. The naming that we give these metrics is quite standard in Reconciler, but it can be changed. So, for example, I think it's Alcoa calls their mine delivered, crusher received. Okay, so we just change it. It's just a name change. And the reason we do the name change is because we want as minimal impact to your mining operations to actually adopt Reconciler that we can. So if we can keep the naming in line with what you usually refer to it, then that's what we do. So this is just an example of the continuum and giving you those comparisons in a dashboard view. So that's all well and nice, but as a mine geologist, I'm usually interested in a little bit more detail and I would like to go into what's happening. So I'm going to take us through to the trends screen. So I've just come down here to trends and I've loaded 4 different data sets for a period of a year. So we've got the resource model in green, then a reserve model in gold, mine production in orange, and then plant product in red. Now we're looking at copper tonnes here. The reason I'm looking at copper tonnes is because I've included plant product. So it's not going to have any tonnes, it's only going to be having metal comparisons. So we're just looking at copper tonnes to have a look what's going on. Again, I can see the differences between, I've got some huge differences here for my mine production compared to all of the other data sets. And I am looking at ore only. So you've always got the ability to look at ore and waste or ore waste, whatever it might be. You've also got the ability to drill down into different locations. Okay, so I'm looking at the whole entire mine value chain, or the location hierarchy, I should say, because I'm looking at plant product. And by the time I get to plant product, it's just been assigned to the mining complex. It doesn't belong to a pit or an underground or whatever it might be. So yeah, that's all fine and good. We can all do that. But what Reconciler is really good at is actually then being able to just change a few things. So I'm going to say now, we were looking at the comparisons on the continuum. I'm going to load up some comparisons now on the trend screen, and I'll choose the copper tonnes again. And we won't have any values. I'm going to remove all those, and I'm going to load some. It doesn't normally flicker, so I don't know what's happening there. What are we going to load? We are going to load some comparisons. So because I'm looking at comparisons, it's only going to give me a list of comparisons here. And I want to look at I'm going to look at the reserve, I think. The reserve to grade control. I'll add that, and I'll look at the reserve to plant product. Look at that. And I'm just going to go in and configure my display. So I'm now interested in looking at chart and table. So I'm not just interested in the pretty picture. I want to see some numbers. Time is still fine. I'm happy with that. Single chart, month, yes. If I go down here, I'm going to let Reconciler tell me what the best axes are and also the colour preference. I am going to put some control limits on my chart for copper tonnes, and I'm also going to enable a heat map on my table. And so now I'm going to press apply, and what we're going to see is a line chart, should be a line chart, of some comparisons. Okay, so now what we can see, and I've got, I don't have to be looking at all of these. I can go in and actually hide some of my my columns if they weren't of interest. I could say, okay, I'm not interested in my tonnes comparison here. I'm actually interested in my copper. I'm just going to turn a couple off. that'll do. I'll just apply that. So you get the idea that I can actually configure that. But what we're looking at now is the in this purple colour, we've got the reserve to the grey control. And as you would expect, there's nothing between the reserve and the grey control in this data set. I would expect it to be in line with each other. Yeah, minimal variance. We haven't actually done much to the grey control model from the reserve model, other than add some modifying factors or maybe some dilution into it. So that is within the tolerance lines that I've got. On the other hand, we've got this reserve to plant product, and you can see it's way outside the tolerance lines, and that would be cause for investigation. Now, it looked okay here. You would have started your investigation this month, in March, to say what has happened between here and here, because things are going wrong. By this time, you're probably in real, reactive mode, trying to pull it back into line. You can see maybe there was something come through. This is demo data, okay? So this is no one site's data. The heat map below will just give you a bit of a call out on anything that looks out of control. And I have to say, look, when I look at, say, BHP Iron Ore, when I look at their heat map, very minimal sad faces. They don't have red, they have sad faces, very minimal sad faces, because they've been using Reconcilor for a long time, and they've managed their trends, and they've managed to be reactive to anything that starts to stray. So, they have a good news story most months. Moving along. I'm now taking us to the pivot view. So we were looking at comparisons, and I'm going to stay in that vein for this particular module. What we're looking at here is I've just pulled up some actual values. So like we were looking at in that green, gold, orange, whatever it was, chart, which was actual values, that's what this is as well. And so what I've done is I've just loaded that in from the data warehouse. So Reconcilor pushes everything to a data warehouse, and you can access it through this pivot view, but you can also extract the data through this integration module. So you can then put it into a Power BI or a Tableau or a business improvement tool that you might have. So that's all well and good, but I'm just going to move a few things around. So I'm just going to put the metric name there. Can't wait for it. Come on, Wi-Fi. I'm just going to put month name and move that down. I'm interested in just that. I'm just going to look at that copper tonnes again. And do a table and chart, because that's me, I like that. Line chart, I'll leave that. And I'm going to put my control lines back on again for copper tonnes. Okay, so what you're going to see is this chart is going to this table is going to reconfigure, and it's going to show me, actually I haven't changed the metrics, but it's going to show me some actual numbers. I'm interested in though is some different things. So metrics now, metric name, and I want to look at those comparisons again. So I'll just go to the bottom. Actually, I'll just go reserve. Was it reserve to grade control? Reserve to plant product? I can put them all on. I'll put them all on. And apply. And so now I've got the comparisons. And you see that heat maps come on because I'm looking at a comparison. So it's the control limits on the actual numbers, it's going to colour it up based on that, whereas the values don't have a control on them, they're just a flat number. All of the colours that you see on all of the charts, you can actually configure through the UI, through this colours screen. It's not per user though, it's per site. Yeah, so somebody that's got the appropriate permissions can change the colours. And we do that because we're trying to standardise your reporting. We're trying to standardise the way that you're actually looking at the data and communicating with what's happening. And if one person has their budget red and the other one has it blue, it just makes it harder to actually communicate. Just moving on for the sake of time, we've got I've also just brought up the model comparison, and really this was just to show that those indicated, inferred, measured classifications that we have on the resource model. Same thing with the reserve model, whatever those are. We do import those, and this is based on the depleter. So the mined component of those models You can see that for April here, we've got, and we're looking at grade of 0.16, and we've got 1 million tonnes of dry tonnes of that measured material. So again, just an easy visual, but sometimes it's just the table that you want, so you could just be looking at the table as well. And just the final screen within Reconciler, I just did bring up a dashboard. So, yeah, maybe it hasn't loaded properly. Let's bring it up again. So any of the screens that you get, that you configure in Reconciler, the whole idea is that you do it sort of once rather than doing it over and over again. So what you've seen me doing is playing around with the filters. I don't expect our users to be doing that. They basically get the screens to how they want it to look, and then they save it. And they saved it as a saved configuration. So the names, what you're seeing here, are saved configurations. So any of the saved configurations you can publish to a dashboard, and you can start to see here it's starting to populate based on the period that I've selected up here. You can have as many different dashboards as you want. You cannot have as many different configurations per dashboard though. So the reason being is that many years ago, I'd come onto a dashboard, and what started off talking about, you know, trends in data, I'd be looking at one particular stockpile by the end of the dashboard. So it's just to keep a flavour, I guess, on the dashboard. Oh, there you go. Anyway, that one, I've chosen a couple there. I could have changed that here, and I've just happened to choose a couple that weren't on there. So that was all I wanted to show you in Reconciler. So again, it's about the transparency, it's about the reporting, it's about the way you communicate, so the charts and the tables, which is what JORC's actually looking for. So if I just go back to the presentation, there's a couple. So as JORC wanted, it's all about visibility and compliance. So everything that I've done in Reconciler is tagged. You can see there'll be a name against it. So I was in as module user 2. This is a screenshot, but it would have your name, it would have what you're doing, and the event that is involved in it. So everything is logged with a date and a time. The configuration. So the way that I set up those comparisons was to come in here and actually set it up and give it a name. So it's all free text. You can call it whatever you want. And, you know, we talk about F factors and R factors. I've talked about them over the years. There's just another name. So you can call it anything. You can call it resource to reserve. You can call it F1, whatever you want. You've got the ability to do that. And you've also got the ability to select the tolerance levels on each of those different attributes, so the tonnes or the grades, whatever it might be. You've also got the option to, I was showing you factors today, but you could do percentage change as well. So again, there's nothing strict in the JORC code telling you how you need to report it. It's just what you need to report. So you can actually, as long as you're reporting something, right? And then I use the traffic light system for my control limits on my heat map, just because it's easy. And then of course that colour configuration. So just to end up, I guess this slide just highlights some of the leading companies that trust Reconciler for their reconciliation processes across different commodities, including precious metals, base metals, bulk commodities and diamonds. From industry giants like BHP, Anglo American and Newmont to specialised operations, Reconciler has been a key tool in helping these organisations improve accuracy, transparency and efficiency in their reconciliation workflows. So whether it's tracking stockpiles, managing plans or ensuring data confidence, Reconciler continues to deliver value across the global mining industry. And we've got an awesome roadmap ahead of us. So come along, join us for the ride on that roadmap. So I guess my final remarks, is as the mining industry evolves, staying ahead of reporting standards like JORC Code is critical. So Reconciler provides the tools to ensure your operations can be efficient and compliant, I guess. That's what it comes down to. If you have any questions, catch me in the lunch break or at the networking drinks this evening, or feel free to reach out for further discussions. Happy to chat.